The quantum sensors hummed their familiar melody as I conducted my millennial check of Outpost Earth. The irony wasn't lost on me. We had chosen this planet as a dumping ground for failed genetic experiments, and now it housed our greatest mistake. Not that anyone in the Galactic Council would admit it. I adjusted my crystalline viewing apparatus, focusing on the sprawling metropolis below. The humans had built it in what was once an uninhabitable desert, their innovative irrigation systems transforming bare sand into fertile ground. My secondary heart fluttered with unease. This wasn't supposed to happen. "Display historical records," I commanded, my voice echoing in the empty observation chamber. Holographic images materialized around me, showing Earth from when we first designated it as Disposal Site 223. Back then, it was perfect. A death world of extreme climates, aggressive predators, and unstable geology. We seeded it with our most dangerous failed experiments, the creatures too robust to be safely eliminated, but too unpredictable to keep. The humans were never meant to be here. They were an accident, a clerical error in the vast bureaucracy of galactic species management. A transport ship carrying primitive proto-sapiens for research had malfunctioned, crash-landing on Earth. We expected them to perish within a generation. Instead, they survived. Then they thrived. Then they began to change everything around them. "Computer, analyze current human technological progress," I ordered, my dorsal spines bristling with concern. The AI's response was immediate and troubling. "Human civilization has achieved Industrial Revolution Phase 3. Current trajectory indicates quantum mechanics understanding within 2 centuries. Space travel capability estimated within 5 decades. I closed all 4 of my eyes, letting the information sink in. When I opened them again, I focused on a particular human settlement near what they called the Pacific Ocean. They had built massive machines there, devices that pulled salt from seawater and transformed it into fresh water. Problems that had stumped our scientists for millennia, they solved with primitive tools and sheer determination. "Show me their adaptation patterns," I said, dreading the response. The holographic display shifted, showing a timeline of human development. Where other species would have specialized to survive in specific environments, humans had done something unprecedented. They adapted their environment to suit them. Too cold. They made fire, created clothing, built shelters. Too hot. They engineered cooling systems, underground dwellings, water management networks. Dangerous predators. They didn't evolve natural weapons. They created artificial ones, then domesticated the very beasts that should have eliminated them. My tentacles curled in agitation as I watched a human settlement defend itself against one of our most lethal disposed species, a pack of Nexus 7 predators, engineered for maximum lethality. The humans didn't run. They didn't hide. They coordinated, communicated, and systematically eliminated the threat. Then, most disturbing of all, they studied the fallen creatures, learning from them. "Computer, initiate emergency protocol transmission to the Council," I said, my voice steady despite my growing alarm. The response made my blood run cold. Unable to comply. Communications array damage. Estimated repair time. 47 planetary rotations. I moved to the observation window, pressing my primary appendage against the transparent barrier. Below, city lights began to twinkle as Earth's night side rotated into view. Those lights were spreading, growing, connecting. The humans were unifying, their separate tribes and nations slowly weaving together into something greater. They had turned our prison into their cradle, our disposal site into their proving ground. Every challenge we had placed in their path, they had overcome. Every creature we had designed to be lethal, they had either defeated or domesticated. Every harsh environment we had expected to break them had instead forged them into something stronger. And now, as I stood in my failing observation post, watching their cities grow and their technology advance, I realized the terrible truth. We hadn't created a prison for dangerous species. We had created a crucible, and instead of destroying the humans, it had refined them. My third heart began to race as I noticed something new, a glint of metal in their upper atmosphere. They were looking up now, reaching for the stars. And soon, very soon, they would find us. We had sealed them on a Deathworld and forgotten one crucial thing. What doesn't kill humans makes them stronger. And we had given them the deadliest training ground in the galaxy. The console beeped, indicating another human advancement milestone. I didn't need to look. I already knew what it meant. They were coming. And we weren't ready. The repair drone's mechanical arms worked methodically on the communications array as I paced the observation deck, my footsteps echoing through the ancient station. 47 rotations. Too long. Far too long. The humans' progress wouldn't wait for bureaucratic protocols. Computer, show me military development trajectories, I commanded, trying to keep the tremor from my voice. The holographic display flickered to life, painting the chamber in an ominous red glow. What I saw made my scales ripple with dread. The humans weren't just advancing. They were innovating at an exponential rate. Each conflict, each challenge, each near-extinction event had pushed them to develop new technologies, new strategies, new ways of thinking. Access historical archives, I said. Show me the original disposal manifest. The screen filled with data, and my suspicions deepened. The manifest had been altered. The human transport's crash wasn't an accident. It had been deliberately directed to Earth. Someone had wanted them here. A warning chime drew my attention to the primary monitor. A human satellite was passing uncomfortably close to the station's cloaking field. Their primitive sensors shouldn't have been able to detect us, but these humans had a habit of exceeding expectations. I pulled up the satellite's specifications, and my respiratory system nearly seized. They had integrated technology from 3 different disposed species into its design. Somehow, they had not only survived encounters with these engineered horrors, but had learned from them, adapted their technology, improved upon it. Computer, analyze probability of human detection of this docility within 1 planetary year. The AI's response was immediate and horrifying. Probability, 87.3%, and rising. I moved to the quantum storage unit and began accessing restricted files. If I was going to break protocol, I needed evidence to justify my actions. The deeper I dug, the more disturbing the pattern became. Earth hadn't been chosen randomly as a disposal site. Its specific conditions, its diverse environments, even the engineered predators we had seeded there, all had been selected with meticulous care. But for what purpose? The answer came in a heavily encrypted file dating back to the beginning of the project. My access codes barely scratched its surface, but what I found confirmed my worst fears. Earth wasn't a prison or a disposal site. It was an experiment. An unauthorized, illegal experiment to create the perfect adaptive species. The humans' uncanny ability to survive wasn't just remarkable. It was engineered. Not in their genetics, but in their environment. Every challenge they faced had been carefully calculated to push them toward specific developmental paths. A loud crash from the communications deck interrupted my investigation. I rushed to the source of the noise, only to find the repair drone in pieces on the floor. Above it, through the reinforced viewport, I saw what had caused its malfunction. A human space vessel, crude but undeniably functional, hung in the void less than a kilometer from the station. Our cloaking technology had failed, and now they were scanning us with repurposed Nexus 7 sensory equipment, the very predators we had sent to hunt them. Computer, initiate emergency protocols, I shouted, unable to comply. Station systems compromised. External override detected. The humans hadn't just found us. They had hacked us, using a combination of salvaged alien technology and their own innovations. The hunters had become the hunted. My personal communicator crackled to life, carrying a message that shattered every protocol and prediction we had ever made about this species. The voice was calm, clear, and spoke in perfect galactic standard. Observation Post K-7249. This is the Earth Defense Force. We know what you are. We know why you're here, and we know about the experiment. Your containment protocols have failed. Your cloaking systems have failed. You have two options: open a dialogue or become another piece of technology we'll learn from. You have 10 minutes to decide." I stared at the human ship, its hull bearing the scars of atmospheric exit and entry. They had achieved space flight decades ahead of our projections, and they had done it by reverse engineering the very tools we had used to imprison them. As I prepared to respond, my third heart racing with a mixture of terror and fascination, I realized the true magnitude of our mistake. We hadn't created the perfect adaptive species. We had created the perfect survivors. And now they wanted answers. The computer's display showed multiple human vessels emerging from Earth's atmosphere. They had been waiting, watching, preparing for this moment. The experiment had succeeded beyond its creator's wildest dreams, and now none of us were ready for the consequences. I opened a channel to respond. Whatever happened next would change the galaxy forever. The humans were loose, and they had questions. The only thing I knew for certain was that they wouldn't stop until they got their answers. And somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of the Galactic Council, someone was about to realize their experiment had worked too well. The human delegation strode through the station's corridor with an unsettling confidence. Their environmental suits were a patchwork of technologies: Nexus 7 thermal regulation, Kraxan energy shielding, and what appeared to be repurposed components from a dozen other species we had discarded on their world. They had turned our refuse into armor. "Your station's life support is failing," their leader said, her voice clear through a translator cobbled together from salvaged communication devices. "We can help fix it." I suppressed a shudder. They had been on board for less than an hour and had already diagnosed problems our systems hadn't detected. "How did you know?" "The same way we found you," another human answered, his suit's sensors sweeping the walls. "We learned from everything you sent to kill us. The Nexu taught us about advanced sensory systems. The Kraxan showed us energy manipulation. Even the bacterial weapons helped us understand cellular reconstruction." Their words confirmed my worst fears. Every challenge, every threat, every monster we had unleashed upon their world had become a teacher. They hadn't just survived, they had turned our weapons into tools. The human leader, who had introduced herself as Commander Sarah Chen, accessed a datapad. "We've compiled a complete record of every species you abandoned on Earth. We want to know why." My third heart skipped a beat. They hadn't just studied the creatures, they had cataloged them, understood them, traced their origins. That information is classified by the Galactic Council. Commander Chen's smile was unnervingly predatory. "Nothing stays classified forever, Administrator. We've already decrypted most of your database. We're asking out of courtesy." The implications hit me like a gravitational wave. They had breached our most secure systems, yet instead of attacking, they were attempting diplomacy. "But why?" "Your species was never meant to be here," I admitted, my vocal sacs constricting with anxiety. "It was a mistake, a transport malfunction." "No," Chen interrupted, her expression hardening. "We found the original directives. Earth wasn't a prison or a disposal site. It was a crucible, designed to create something. We want to know what and why." A younger human stepped forward, his suit bristling with scanning equipment. "Your society has been stagnant for millennia. No major technological advances, no significant evolutionary changes. You needed something new, didn't you? Something that could adapt, innovate, survive." The pieces clicked into place. The encrypted files, the carefully selected predators, the precisely calibrated challenges. It hadn't been about containment. It had been about creation. "The Council didn't authorize this," I whispered, realizing the magnitude of the conspiracy. "Someone within our highest ranks set this up. They used Earth as an unauthorized evolutionary laboratory. And now you have what you wanted," Chen said, her voice carrying an edge of steel. "A species that can survive anything, adapt to everything, and turn every obstacle into an advantage. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Before I could respond, the station's alerts blared to life. Multiple ships were emerging from hyperspace. Council vessels, no doubt responding to automated distress signals. The humans didn't flinch. Instead, Chen smiled again, and this time I understood why. They had wanted this. "Right on schedule," she said, checking her datapad. "Your reinforcements are about to discover something interesting. We haven't just been studying your discarded species. We've been working with them." The main viewport cleared, revealing a sight that defied explanation. Alongside the human vessels were ships of distinctly alien design, creatures we had abandoned on Earth, now returned to space under human guidance. They had united our castoffs into a coalition. "We're not here to fight," Chen declared, watching as council ships dropped out of hyperspace. "We're here to negotiate. Earth isn't a prison anymore. It's the capital of something new. The question is, will your council recognize us as equals, or will they make the mistake of trying to contain us again?" I stared at the assembled fleet, my professional detachment crumbling. The experiment had succeeded beyond anyone's predictions, but not in the way its architects had intended. The humans hadn't just adapted to survive. They had learned to thrive, to lead, to unite. And now, they were offering the galaxy a choice: evolution or opposition. The council ships held position, their weapons powered but not targeting. They had recognized what I already knew. The humans weren't escaped prisoners or experimental subjects. They were the future we had accidentally created, and they were ready to take their place in the galaxy, whether we were ready or not. The Council's emergency session chamber materialized around us as the quantum transmission stabilized. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy watched through holographic interfaces, their expressions ranging from disbelief to outright terror. Commander Chen stood beside me, her environmental suit's modified sensors analyzing everything. "This is unprecedented," First Speaker Zolfax announced, his crystalline form shimmering with agitation. "Humans were never meant to achieve this level of advancement. Yet here we are," Chen responded, her calm voice carrying across the chamber. Behind her, holographic displays showed the combined fleet of human and rehabilitated species ships holding position near Earth. "The question isn't how we got here, but what happens next." I watched the council members shift uncomfortably. They had never faced anything like this, a species that had not only survived their containment but had mastered it, transformed it, and built alliances within it. "Your presence in space violates multiple galactic protocols," another council member stated, tentacles writhing nervously. Chen's laugh was sharp and without humor. "Protocols? Like the ones that authorized using Earth as an unauthorized evolutionary experiment, or perhaps the ones that allowed you to abandon sentient species on our world without oversight." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Few had known the true purpose of Earth's designation as a disposal site. Even fewer had known about the experimental protocols. "We have evidence," Chen continued, activating a holographic display of her own, more advanced than anything the Council used. "Records of deliberate species selection, environmental manipulation, and targeted evolutionary pressure. Earth wasn't a prison. It was a laboratory, and we weren't the only test subjects." The images showed dozens of species, each one deliberately chosen and placed on Earth. The Nexu's advanced sensory capabilities, the Kraxen's energy manipulation, the Synthoid's adaptive intelligence, all had been selected to create specific evolutionary pressures. "But you made a crucial mistake," Chen declared, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You assumed isolation would keep us contained. Instead, it forced us to adapt, to innovate, and most importantly, to cooperate." The holographic display shifted, showing human cities where multiple species now coexisted. Former predators worked alongside their once prey, each contributing their unique abilities to a greater whole. "Impossible," a council member whispered. "The disposal species were designed to be incompatible." "They were designed to fight," Chen corrected. "We taught them to cooperate. Every species you abandoned had something to offer. We didn't just survive them. We learned from them, helped them, and earned their trust. I watched the Council's reaction, seeing the moment they realized the true magnitude of their mistake. They had created the perfect evolutionary crucible, but they had lost control of the experiment. "What are your demands?" First speaker Zolthax asked, his crystalline form dimming with resignation. Chen smiled, but it wasn't threatening. It was determined. Recognition, representation, reparation, not just for humanity, but for every species you abandoned on Earth. We're not asking to join your council. We're informing you that a new power has emerged in the galaxy. The chamber erupted again, but Chen wasn't finished. She activated another holographic display, showing vast networks of human innovation. Hybrid technologies that combined the best aspects of multiple species. Medical advances that could regenerate entire limbs. Energy systems that defied conventional physics. "We're offering to share what we've learned," she said. "Earth hasn't just produced survivors, it's created a new way of thinking. We've learned to combine technologies you thought were incompatible, to find solutions you never imagined, to turn enemies into allies." I saw the shift in the council members' postures. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Interest. Humanity wasn't just threatening them with force. They were offering something the stagnant Galactic Council desperately needed. Innovation. "And if we refuse?" someone asked. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her words carried weight. "Then we'll continue to grow, to advance, and to welcome others who seek a different path. The galaxy is changing. You can be part of that change, or you can watch it happen without you." The council chamber fell silent. In just a few generations, humanity had done more than survive our worst weapons. They had turned them into tools for advancement. They had taken our discarded species and forged them into allies. They had transformed a prison into a crucible for innovation. And now they were offering the galaxy a choice: adapt or be left behind. The experiment had worked perfectly, just not for us. The observation post's decommissioning ceremony was unlike anything in galactic history. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered to watch as humans transformed the station that had once imprisoned them into something new, a museum of resilience. Commander Chen stood at the ceremony center, but she wasn't alone. Beside her stood beings that had once been our disposal subjects. A Nexu ambassador, its sensory arrays now refined for diplomatic scanning. A Kraxan elder, its energy manipulation abilities integrated into peaceful technology. Even a Synthoid collective, their adaptive intelligence now focused on solving galactic challenges. A year ago, we emerged from Earth ready for war. Chen addressed the gathered dignitaries. Instead, we found an opportunity for revolution, not through violence, but through innovation. I watched from my position among the council representatives, my scales rippling with a mixture of awe and unease. The changes of the past year had reshaped the galaxy more thoroughly than millennia of council rule. The holographic displays around us showed the extent of these changes. Earth, once a prison world, had become the center of a technological renaissance. Human innovations, combined with the unique abilities of their former adversaries, had solved problems that had plagued the galaxy for eons. The experiment that created us was illegal, Chen continued, her voice carrying across the station's renovated chamber. But its results cannot be denied. You sought to create the perfect adaptive species. Instead, you created something far more valuable, a catalyst for change. The displays shifted, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Worlds that had stagnated for millennia were being transformed by human-led innovation teams. Former disposal species, rehabilitated and respected, were contributing their unique perspectives to galactic civilization. "The price of evolution," Chen declared, "is the death of stagnation." The council feared change so much that they tried to contain it. Instead, they concentrated it, refined it, and gave it purpose. I felt the weight of her words. My own role as observer had changed dramatically. No longer did I watch for signs of escape. Now I documented the integration of Earth's innovations into galactic society. Today, we convert this station from a prison to a promise, Chen announced. The Museum of Adaptation will stand as a reminder that strength comes not from isolation, but from integration. Not from fear, but from curiosity. Not from control, but from cooperation. The station's old monitoring systems powered down for the final time. In their place, new systems activated, teaching tools, cultural exchanges, technological demonstrations, each telling the story of how humanity had turned persecution into progress. But our work isn't finished, Chen said, her expression serious. Somewhere in this galaxy, other worlds labor under similar containment. Other species struggle against artificial limitations. To them, we make this promise. Earth is no longer a prison. It's a sanctuary for those who wish to grow beyond their bounds. The gathered representatives stirred uneasily. Earth's coalition had already begun identifying other containment worlds, offering them the same opportunity for advancement that humanity had seized. The greatest mistake, Chen concluded, wasn't putting us on Earth. It was believing that containing a problem would solve it. We are the children of your fear, forged in the crucible of your cast-offs. But we choose to be the solution to that fear. As the ceremony concluded, I made my final log entry as senior administrator. The humans had requested I stay on, not as an observer, but as a teacher, helping others understand how necessity and adversity had birthed something unprecedented. The experiment had succeeded beyond its creator's wildest dreams, but not in creating the perfect adaptive species. Instead, it had created the perfect teachers. Humanity had learned not just to survive, but to help others survive. Not just to adapt, but to help others adapt. They had turned a Deathworld into a cradle of innovation, enemies into allies, and fear into hope. The galaxy would never be the same. And as I watched Earth's coalition ships depart for other containment worlds, carrying their message of liberation through innovation, I realized a fundamental truth. The Council had tried to create a weapon and had instead created a catalyst. They had sought to control evolution and had instead unleashed revolution. Evolution's price wasn't measured in the death of the old, but in the birth of the new. And humanity, forged in the crucible of our mistakes, had become its greatest architects. The experiment was over. The evolution had begun. End log.